Welcome everybody to the Essex County Field Naturalist Club September meeting. My name is Corey Reno, the club vice president. Tonight's guest presenter is none other than club member and Pelee Island Observatory's urban bird educator, Jennifer Nantais. She will be discussing the upcoming global bird rescue that runs from September 27th through October 3rd. Her presentation aims to raise awareness about the event, recruit volunteers to search for bird collisions in their communities, demonstrate how to participate, how to search for birds, record our observations and make them count. Documenting bird collisions can help identify and mitigate potential hazard areas, make the urban environment safer for birds and other wildlife, and is one of the ways that we can make our city more bird friendly. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Jen. Jen, it's all yours.
All right, thanks, Corey. I will share my screen and then we'll get started. Okay, so thanks again for having me. Like Corey said, I am the urban bird educator with the Pelee Island Bird Observatory, or PIBO, and I'm talking about yet another event that we are participating in as part of our efforts to help make Windsor a bird-friendly city. We are working toward this goal, hopefully to be achieved maybe by next spring, by World Migratory Bird Day. We're trying to identify some of the threats that birds face in an urban area and help to mitigate some of these threats, help to make changes that will be beneficial to birds and other types of wildlife. So I'll be talking about the global bird rescue today. And I've got this sad image to begin with of a red-eyed vireo. And just by seeing this image of this poor dead bird in hand, you can probably guess what this bird fell victim to. And that's window collisions. That is one of the major threats that birds face in an urban area. And that is what the Global Bird Rescue is focusing on. It's focusing on identifying the birds that have struck windows, that have become injured or lost their lives, so we can figure out just where all of these collisions are happening, how large the numbers are, because collecting this data is critical to getting some support and some funding behind making changes. So not only are we asking people if you'd like to volunteer and help search for birds during the week-long event, but also I'll be showing you some ways to make your windows birds safe, to eliminate some of the bird collisions that can happen even in our very own neighborhoods. So you'll see a lot of dead bird images, but I promise there will be some live birds, and the Global Bird Rescue is all about making the world a safer place for birds so they don't fall victim like this poor bird went here. Now, why the need for a global bird rescue? Bird populations around the world are declining at an alarming rate. I'm sure you know that. I'm not telling you anything that you didn't already know. Bird numbers are declining, and in North America specifically, there are approximately 3 billion fewer birds today than 50 years ago. And that is a lot. That means that there are billions less birds in the sky than even our parents have seen, or our grandparents. We're living in a different world than they did. There were billions more birds when they were looking up toward the sky. And this isn't because of something that happened, something where the damage is already done. This is happening today. Birds still face the same threats that they faced over the last 50 years, and arguably many more. There are lots of threats that they face in an urban area: predation by cats, pesticides, climate change, light pollution. So this event focuses on one of these threats because window collisions is one of the leading causes of death for migratory and resident birds globally. Data collected will help us to better understand the extent of bird collisions and contribute to effective advocacy for bird safe practices. And that's what it's all about, getting that data, counting every bird and making every bird count. Now, the thing about window collisions is I've experienced many of them. I've had them collide with the windows of my own home, at my workplace, for several jobs growing up. I've talked to people who have found a dead bird or a stunned and injured bird. I honestly cannot think of one person who has never experienced this, who has never heard that thump of a bird hitting the window, who has never found a stunned bird outside. Everyone I know has experience with this, and that just goes to show you that it's happening everywhere and it's happening every day. So if we can make our windows bird safe, we can save so many bird lives. Just how many birds are killed by window collisions? In Canada, 16 to 42 million birds a year, it's estimated. In the United States, 365 to 988 million birds per year. Now, those are big ranges, but they're also just big numbers. That's almost 1 billion birds, and that's still happening. Window collisions are one of the top sources of human-caused bird mortality, despite being easily preventable. So here's the thing, it is preventable. We can do something about it. And so collecting these numbers and having an event like this to raise awareness is the key. And here's a shocker that even surprised me when I first learned this fact. Individual houses are responsible for 90% of window collisions. I couldn't believe that myself. If you look at these skyscrapers that I have in the photo here, that can be a bird death trap. They see the sky and the trees reflected into those glass windows, and that is a death trap. People who participate in the global bird rescue would definitely check the base of tall skyscrapers like these ones. But most of our cities are not skyscrapers. They're not downtown areas. They're suburbs and they're urban neighborhoods. There are houses. Our homes are the ones where the birds are colliding. So making a difference in our individual houses can make a huge difference. This is a power that you have, a power that we have to really make a difference today. And it's important that we do something about it because we are along these migration routes. Here are a couple of major migration pathways, the Mississippi Flyway and the Atlantic Flyway. You can see their fall migration routes. The arrows are going down as the birds head south, which they're doing now. And these little stars are where we are. So we're along these migration routes. So there are more birds in the spring and in the summer than the rest of the year. The resident birds who bred here and nested here, they're probably still here for the most part, but some of the southern migrators are showing up every day. And as the bird population increases, so does the potential for bird window collisions. So that's why the global bird rescue happens during fall migration, kind of at the peak of fall migration, to really try and capture a snapshot of the birds that are colliding with windows. Monitoring weather patterns to predict bird migration. So now that we know that fall migration is on, let's kind of dig a little deeper. Spring migration is kind of the most popular migration. That's the one where the birds are looking their best in their beautiful, colorful spring plumage. It's usually when we are waking up from a long, dark, cold winter, and we're so excited to see these beautiful birds. And we can tell when they're on the move or when they might show up in our area. If there are steady southerly winds, that's winds coming from the south, heading north in order to give those birds a push upward. Clear moonlit nights, because the birds use the moon as part of their navigation. And a sudden increase in temperature. That really gives the birds a cue to migrate. Fall migration, which we're in the middle of right now. Steady northerly winds. So those are winds coming from the north to help the birds on their journey south. Clear moonlit nights, once again, for navigation, and a sudden decrease in temperature. These are the cues that will get the birds moving, and that's how we know if we're really paying attention, we can kind of just get a feeling of when we might see some birds, when birds might be passing through our area. When all these factors are present, step outdoors shortly after dusk and listen. You'll hear faint peeps from birds migrating overhead. Try using a spotting scope or binoculars to watch these birds as they fly past the face of the moon. Now that's just a little bit of fun for you, a little suggestion to kind of help you connect with nature. I always try to remind people that migration is happening. People tend to know when the birds are arriving, but they're not usually so in tune with when the birds are leaving and those bird populations are increasing. And that's really important for mitigating some of the hazards that they face as well. This is Birdcast. It's a website which monitors bird migration activity through the region. It uses real-time analysis maps to help prepare for bird building collisions on days following heavy nocturnal migration. So I encourage you to check out Birdcast, check out those maps, and you will see if the birds are on the move. Now that can be fun for a bird lover like myself if I want to go out and see some birds, but it's also important scientific data. It can be used for kind of cues when we should be turning off our lights, maybe when we can turn off wind turbines in order to mitigate some of the threats that they pose to birds. So just another tool that we can use to anticipate when birds might be in trouble and at risk of collisions. How does migration influence these bird building collisions? Well, lighted structures can disorient night migrating birds as they tend to fly toward and hesitate to leave these lit areas. As day breaks, birds quickly descend to the ground in search of vegetated habitat where they feverishly forage for food to replenish their depleted energy reserves. So they stop here to feed and to rest. This dramatic rise in the concentration of birds in built environments increases the potential for bird building collisions. All right, let's look at what's happening in the daytime. During the day, reflected light poses a severe threat to birds. Birds can see through glass and what is reflected on the glass, but they can't see the glass itself. Attracted to the reflection of a landscape that is actually behind them, or to a plant that is on the other side of the window, many birds fly straight into windows and reflective building exteriors. Some birds have even been observed attacking their own reflection, believing it to be a competing bird intruding on its territory. Now, I've seen this, and sometimes it's harmless, seeing those male birds kind of posturing and pecking. I've seen them doing this to my car's rear view mirror, or the side mirror rather, even the side window. But what I've seen that is actually quite sad is I've gone back hours later and that same bird is still attacking that reflection, and even hours after that. So that's causing stress to that bird. That bird is spending energy. It's causing it to be doing that instead of what it really should be doing. So we can't eliminate reflective surfaces in an urban area, but we can try to kind of, treat the ones that are really posing a hazard to birds. Nighttime. Light from buildings present a danger to birds. As I said, many species migrate at night and navigate using light from the moon, the stars, and the setting sun. The bright lights in urban areas confuse birds and can cause them to be thrown off course. On particularly foggy or rainy nights, birds fly at lower altitudes and are more likely to become disoriented by city lights. They may be pulled down into urban areas where they often collide with buildings. Dangers are also presented by floodlights, lighthouses, and other light sources. Studies using radar have shown that once birds are attracted to a light source, they tend not to want to leave it. Birds may become trapped inside beams of light, flying around inside them until they drop from exhaustion. As you can imagine, an urban area is going to be full of hazards like this, and we have no illusions of being able to eliminate them all. But we can certainly identify the ones that are causing the most damage and figure out how we can fix it. Why do birds migrate at night? A lot of people don't think that birds migrate at night. They don't see the birds flying at night. They think that the only birds that are out at night are nocturnal birds like owls and nighthawks. But the majority of birds do migrate at night, including birds that we have around here, birds that you know, like cuckoos, flycatchers, warblers, vireos, thrushes, orioles, and sparrows. The instinct to migrate is largely influenced by sudden shifts in temperature, available daylight, moon phases, and light tailwinds. Flying conditions for long distance travel are most favorable in darkness due to factors like less potential for predation. It may be safer to fly at night, cooler temperatures, and less inclement weather. All right, let's get into some of the ways that we can help make a difference. And the best way to reduce window collisions is to fix your windows to make them bird safe. So I'll give you some ideas of how you can do that. You'll need to apply visual markers to the outside of the windows. To be most effective, these markers will need to follow the following guidelines. Full coverage on the outside of the window. Some people are tempted to make these marks on the inside of the window. It's easier to apply from the comfort of indoors, especially if it's a second or third level window, but that's not going to eliminate the reflection. Even if you have a proper pattern on the inside, the reflection is still going to be on the outside. So the markers have to be on the outside of the window. A highly contrasted marker to the transparent or reflective glass surface, something the birds can see. no smaller than 6 millimeters in diameter. Otherwise, they're too small. That's not going to get the job done. Placed every 2 inches horizontally and vertically to protect even the smallest birds like the hummingbird. So 2 by 2, it's easy to remember. Some people say, and I have heard 2 by 4, and that means 2 inches horizontally, 4 inches vertically, because generally birds are going to fly in like this, not like that, but 2 by 2 is the safest and it's very easy to remember. These visual markers can be products already available or homemade. So I'll give you some different ideas of ways that you can treat your windows, see what you like, see what you think is, something you might be interested in treating your windows with. And yeah, I'll give you a commercial option and a DIY option. Here's a commercial one. You can purchase this feather-friendly window collision tape at flap.org. And these ones are actually available at Lee Valley. You can go to your local Lee Valley and purchase this window collision tape and apply it to your windows. So it's basically a piece of tape that has the markers with a contrasting pattern and the appropriate distance, and you just apply the tape, pull it off, and your windows are bird friendly. Turning off your lights can make a big difference as well. So I'm talking about window collisions today, but I'm also talking about reflection and birds migration and the things that really kind of catch their attention, distract them, and throw them off course. So if you have a well-lit property, if you have a beautiful patio, or you have outdoor lights for security, maybe consider turning them off when not in use. Or if it is for security, consider a sensor light. That way it's still keeping you safe, but it's not going to distract the birds in the area. All right, let's look at some options. Perforated window film. It looks like a solid barrier to birds while letting in light and permitting a view of the outdoors. So if you're looking out of this perforated window film, it looks kind of like a frosty opaque pattern to your window. It can be purchased at kaleidoscape.org. I got you one example there, but a DIY option, paint the outsides of the windows with soap or tempera paint, which can be washed off, but it won't be washed away by the rain. So it's going to endure the weather, and you can keep it up for as long as you like. If you enjoy the effect, you can keep it around. But you can also just have it be temporary, maybe during migration season. You can also let the kids have at it. They can paint some pictures and paint some colors, and that will really keep your windows bird safe. Adhesive window films. Decorative window films can be an attractive addition to your windows while also helping birds to avoid a deadly collision with glass. Wallpaper for windows has some interesting patterns like the one that's being applied here. A DIY option, get some of these oil-based markers. White is the color I suggest for that contrast we need to be visual to the birds, and draw on a pattern. Remember that 2 by 2 spacing. You can use some geometric patterns of dots or lines, anything you can think of, as long as the spaces in between are no larger than 2 by 2. So have fun with it. We actually had a contest in the spring where we asked people to decorate their windows in a bird-friendly way, to apply any kind of markers to their window to keep birds safe. Send us in that picture and win a wonderful prize package. And we're going to be doing that again this fall migration. So I'll tell you a bit about that at the end of the presentation. Ribbons or string. Again, outside of the window. No more than 10 centimeters or 4 inches apart, and run the entire length of the window. Now remember, I've been saying 2 by 2. This 4-inch suggestion comes from the Acopian Bird Savers people, and it doesn't have a vertical measure because there is no horizontal marker. It's just vertical cords. But the idea with these is that they also move. So they're going to kind of create a real visual barrier because they are dynamic. They move with the breeze. So at least 4 inches is recommended by this product, but Flap recommends 2 inches. And you can make your own. You can create a DIY option. You can apply your own cord. About 1/8 of an inch diameter is suggested. Heavy enough to stay straight while hanging. You don't want them just blowing around in the wind and getting all tangled up. They won't be saving birds' lives that way. A tight weave, you don't want them uncoiling and unraveling and then you have to replace them. Pre-shrunk, because they're going to be out there in the weather, in the rain, in the snow. Oh, and that was it. Decals. People have been using decals for years, and decals are fine, but I think people used to think that the shape of the decal mattered. It was shaped like a bird predator. Obviously it doesn't, but it's just another visual marker. So a contrasting color, white is what's suggested, but the dense pattern is the most important part. Remember that 2 by 2 inch guideline. And outside the window. Exterior window screens. Outside of the window, you can see this example here. You can still see the reflection, but it is a bit obscured by the screen. But the idea is these exterior screens provide a flexible barrier between birds and the glass to soften the impact and reduce the chance of injury if a bird does fly toward the window. Look at how much space there is in between the screen and the window. Regular exterior mounted window screens may also provide some level of protection, but there's still a chance of injury if the screen is mounted too close to the glass or is too taut. So most of us who do have exterior window screens, it's usually right up against the window, or it's really tight, so the bird's going to bounce off of it. So these are some options for you. Another way to help, in addition to treating your own windows at home, is by participating in the Global Bird Rescue, which I'm going to tell you about now. And the whole idea is to convince others to make their windows bird safe by recording some of these birds, letting people know how common bird window collisions are, so that they'll do something about it in their own home or in their community. The Global Bird Rescue is an annual event hosted by FLAP Canada to raise awareness about one of the leading causes of bird deaths across the globe, collision with buildings. Each year in late September, early October, teams and individuals take to the streets to search for and rescue birds that have collided with buildings in their communities. So that's what we're going to be doing this year. A major aim of the event is to inspire participants to protect local and migrating birds by making windows bird safe. So this year, the event runs from September 27th through August 3rd. So you can look for birds in your area every day. You can look all year, but the idea is to make a special attempt to capture some of these birds that collide with windows during this annual event. The people around the world will be participating as well. How to participate? Register in the Global Bird Collision Mapper. There's the website there. You can participate as an individual. Anyone can record their birds here at any time, or as part of a Global Bird Rescue team by clicking Find a Global Bird Rescue Team. We've created a team called Bird Friendly Windsor. So you can join our team, and whether you come out with us on a volunteer event to look for birds, or if you're just at home, you can join our team and record any birds that you find. Make sure that you enter your collision reports in the mapper promptly and as accurately as possible. Searching for birds. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to have an event. We're going to have some leaders. We're going to bring the supplies, and we're going to check some hotspots and look for birds. During the Global Bird Rescue, participants actively search for birds. Sorry, my computer just went. Which have been injured or killed through collisions with glass by walking around the base of buildings and recording their observations on the mapper. Whoops, computer's bugging out. There we go. Victims of window collisions are extremely vulnerable to predators and often find themselves in dangerous situations. Whether it's a daily search around the perimeter of your home, cottage, or office, or a more extensive search of collision hotspots in your city, the more people who are searching for fallen birds during migration, the higher chance we have of finding survivors quickly and getting them the help they need to continue their migration. So the object is to record those dead birds and to help the birds that are alive. Even if you're not an expert at identifying birds, you can simply upload a photo with your observation. Every collision reported becomes part of a global, publicly accessible database to help us better understand the issue and inform effective advocacy and policy efforts. And that's what it's all about, making a difference. Your actions could mean the difference between life and death for a bird. Through encouraging people to search for birds, we hope to increase the chances of finding live birds sooner, thereby improving the likelihood that they will successfully be rehabilitated and released. Last year, a total of 490 birds were rescued during the event 45 teams from 11 different countries reported a total of 1,915 collisions. Spread the word. The simple act of sharing a post or speaking to friends, family, neighbors, and coworkers can really go a long way. Each team member who plans on reporting collisions will need to register on the Global Bird Collision Mapper. To join the team, email your username to mapper@flap.org, as members need to be added manually. We can't add you to our team, but if you shoot that email off, you will be added to our team. Now it says each team member who plans on reporting collisions, and not everyone needs to report the collision, and not everyone should, just one person should. So if you do go out with us, one of us, if you're out with me, I will log that record. So no worries about that. But if you do want to be a part of this, even ongoing, if you find a bird next spring, you can add it to the Global Bird Mapper and it will always be there for people who search. Help promote the event. Use any of the following hashtags to help promote the events. I'm not sure if you have heard of the Global Bird Rescue before, but a lot of people haven't. And it's something that it would be great if more people participated in every year and more people were aware of, so that more people can be aware of the dangers of bird window collisions, so that hopefully someday we don't have to have this event if we can make our cities safer and more bird friendly. So keep these hashtags in mind, because once again, we're going to have a contest, which we will use these same hashtags for you to be able to post your window design and win a wonderful prize. So I'll show you these a few more times as well. Rescue. Here's the third way we're going to help birds. We're actually going to go out and look for them. Most birds will be found on the ground up to 1.5 meters or 5 feet from the base of a building. Walk close to and parallel to the building. That way, if startled, it will tend to fly parallel to and away from the building. We don't want to cause any more injury to that bird. Check in small nooks where birds may hide. Catching a bird. So you don't need to remember all this. This is kind of the procedure that we're going to use when we go about participating in this rescue. Have a tissue-lined paper bag ready to go. Approach from behind and walk parallel to the window. Move slowly and deliberately so as not to scare the bird. A stunned bird can be captured using your hands or a net. I've never used a net before. I found lots of stunned and injured birds. I've always caught them with my hand or maybe my sweater or something. But I think we'll bring a net this year. We never know what we're going to find or what kind of numbers we're going to find when we go out. Enclose the bird gently with both hands, ensuring it's unable to escape. You don't want the bird to escape injured and not be able to help it. Do not hold too tightly, as this can cause injury or prevent the bird from breathing. When using a net, once the bird is safely netted, you may put your hands under the net and grasp the bird with 2 hands. If the bird's toenails are caught in the net, unhook them very gently without pulling on the bird's foot. Gently place the bird inside the bag to secure. The bag does not need air holes provided you are using non-waxed paper bags. Our event, Monday, September 27th. That's the day that we're going to go out. Time to be determined, but it will be early, but it will go on all day, so you don't have to join first thing in the morning if you don't want to. Location to be determined. Depends on how many volunteers we get and kind of what areas they're from and if people have any suggestions. So these discussions will happen prior to the outing. But we're going to be going out Monday, September 27th as a team or as multiple teams and seeing if we can help any birds. Supplies. We'll bring the supplies, non-wax brown paper bags or cardboard boxes. Clips to secure the bags. We don't want the birds getting out. Tissue paper or paper towels to line the bag and give them something to grip onto when the bird cannot stand on its own. Butterfly net, as I said, disposable gloves and plastic bags to handle dead birds, a notebook to record collision data or a phone to input collision data into the mapper. Camera, we're definitely going to take photos. Phone numbers of local wildlife rehab centers. We've already reached out to Wings Rehabilitation Center and Erie Wildlife Rescue. So if we do encounter some injured birds that day, then we will be bringing them to the appropriate rehabilitator. And masks and other COVID protection so that not only do we keep the birds safe, but we stay safe as well. Here are some tips. Now, you don't need to, like I said, remember everything that I'm telling you. This is generally how we're going to go about the rescue, but you may encounter stunned birds anytime. And here are some tips. If a disoriented bird are flying close to a building, it's best to stand back until they settle. If the bird is flapping around and flying wildly, don't just keep running after it. It's just going to injure itself worse. Just give it time to settle and then see if you can quietly sneak up on it. Occasionally, birds of prey, such as hawks or falcons, collide with buildings. Extreme caution and specialized equipment is needed when handling injured birds of prey. As you can imagine, they're big, they're strong. The business end of these raptors, some people think it's the bill, but it's the talons. I know that bill is designed for tearing flesh, but they're going to go at you with their talons, generally speaking. Woodpecker species should be placed in boxes as they can peck through paper bags and escape, which sounds kind of cute. Don't forget they're woodpeckers. Hummingbirds can go into a state of torpor when injured and may look dead. Treat all hummingbirds found as alive and place them in paper bags just to be safe. Stress. As you can imagine, this is a stressful thing to happen to a bird. They're already stressed from possible injury, dehydration, or exhaustion. This can decrease their chances of survival. Do not provide food and water, as an injured bird may choke or drown. Eating or drinking can also worsen internal injury, so it is always best to speak to the wildlife rehabilitator first. So if you do have a bird that is experiencing stress or seems to be injured, call the rehabilitator and ask what care you should give them. Don't just decide what you're going to feed them, you're going to give them water, because they will give you some advice. And if you have any experience with wildlife rehabilitators, they are busy. So if you don't get them on the first try, don't just hang up and say they didn't answer. Leave a message. The rehabbers that I know, they work hard, not just taking care of the animals, but also getting back to you. They will call you back. Leave them a message of the reason you're calling and your number, and they will call you back with necessary information to keep that bird safe. Talk quietly or not at all. Avoid direct eye contact with the bird. Eye contact is threatening. I mean, I've even experienced it with dogs and people, of course. Just avoid eye contact, anything that might stress the bird out. Keep handling to a minimum and move the bird as little as possible. Keep it in a warm, dark, and quiet place when contained. If it's a hot day, make sure that that warm area is not too warm. If it's a warm day, keep it in an area that's a little bit cool, a nice shaded area. Just keep it comfortable on the warm side, if anything. Transport the bird to a wildlife rehabilitation facility as quickly as possible. When transporting birds in a vehicle, do not turn on the radio or talk too loudly. This is common sense stuff. Signs of an overly stressed bird: rapid open mouth breathing or panting, shutting one or both eyes, not being able to hold their head up. Trauma. Stunned birds can often appear to have no obvious injuries. An injured bird can also appear to be dead. If a bird is still warm but not moving, place it in a paper bag. It may still be alive and in shock. A cold or stiff bird is likely, however, a dead bird. Trauma. Unable to hold up their head, unable to stand, no response to sound or visual movement, not trying to escape, just sitting there, bulging eyes, heavy, noisy clicking or open beak breathing, a broken beak, wing, or leg, bleeding. So now that we've talked about some of the things you're going to look for when you are looking for birds, let's talk about how to submit your records using the Global Bird Collision Mapper that I've mentioned. So we know that it is a geomapping tool designed for users to report locations of bird collisions with buildings, and it's available on a desktop and mobile device, and it's international and can be seen by anyone. That's the great thing, is this data is searchable. This data will be available. Creating the account. So I've got the little drop down on the right, which will appear on your phone or on the desktop. The steps are to visit the Bird Mapper, birdmapper.org, and register. Report a collision. This is what you're going to do when you use the mapper. Select the menu in the top left corner. Select report a collision. Select your location. You can zoom in on the map. This is just like iNaturalist. If you've ever had to record your location there, you can zoom in on a map. You can use your location if you have the location on your phone. I do because of things like iNaturalist and playing Pokemon, or typing in an address in the search bar at the top right of the site. Search for the species using a common name and click on it when it pops up to select your species. If you don't know, leave it unknown. Choose the status from alive, which would include seen, rescued, or escaped, dead, or multiple, if there are multiple birds of the same species alive or dead. Select the date. Attach a photo. Always attach a photo to aid in identification. And select the side of the building where the bird was found, so we know specifically where the problem area is. Optional, any detailed field notes. You can choose to submit your records as a member of a group or as an individual. And here is a record that was added by Erie Wildlife Rescue in 2020. They participated in the Global Bird Rescue, and it looks like they have found a red-bellied woodpecker. It was found alive. It was found on the north side of the building, and it recovered and was released. So they've added some notes, they've added a location, they've added a date, they've done everything right. And if we look here, these are some of the Global Bird Rescue numbers. Now, in some areas, there are lots of records. Look, there are thousands of records here, hundreds of records here. One in Detroit, oh, they've got a bunch over here. So it's just starting to catch on. So hopefully by spreading the word, birds are going to be recorded instead of being forgotten. So please log a record if you find a bird. You can also record bird collisions on iNaturalist. Not a lot of people know this. I've never used it myself, so I had to do a little research about how to record a bird collision record on iNaturalist, because I use it all the time. And you can record and you can search for bird collisions on iNaturalist. I did a search here. I just saved a little still image of some of the unfortunate birds that people have recorded who collided with windows. In order to do this, however, it's not that user-friendly, if you ask my opinion. First, you have to create the record, as you normally would, of any bird or any other sighting. So you have to get a photo, you select the species, other people will confirm that species, but then you have to open that record on your desktop. So this is what you'll see. You'll have your records on the left, you select the one that you want to add the collision info to, and you find that observation field in the bottom there. So you select the drop down and one of the options will be collision. So add collision and save. Once you do that, it will be searchable. You can type collision in the description and you can find all of the birds that have collided with windows in our area. So if you're more familiar with iNaturalist, I mean, ideally you would add your record to the Global Bird Mapper, but as a huge lover of iNaturalist and an avid user, I would suggest that's another option too, especially if you want to share this information with iNaturalist and you want some help identifying that bird, because iNaturalist is great for identification. So those are two ways that you can record your bird record and really make it count. Because these poor birds who lose their lives, you know, they're forgotten. They're just another statistic. They're just another life lost. But if they are recorded here, then they will hopefully help to make changes in the future. Raise awareness. Global bird rescue teams are encouraged to engage with and educate their communities about the issue of bird building collisions through various social media tools. Use the official hashtag Global Bird Rescue. Post photos of rescued birds on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Share posts about the event from our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook page. That comes from Global Bird Rescue. So raise awareness about the event and raise awareness about this threat that birds face. Share, be part of the conversation. Once again, share to the hashtags provided, because we are going to have a contest that I'll tell you about right now. Here is the winner of our spring contest. So we said, decorate your windows. And this person did use the marker that I suggested, the oil-based white marker, drew a picture of her whole family, a cute little naturescape there featuring a bird on the nest, and she won a wonderful prize package. So we're going to do that again, and we're going to kind of open it up right now, basically, and it will close on World Migratory Bird Day on October 9th. And you can decorate your window like this. You can decorate your window using a simple pattern of dots or lines. You can purchase the window collision tape. You can apply some cords, a wind chime. You can even send pictures of anything that you think will help birds. If you find someone who has treated their window at a public place, a library, anything that will help raise awareness about the threats that birds face colliding with windows, share that photo, and you can be entered into our next contest, which will end on, like I said, World Migratory Bird Day, coming up this fall on October 9th. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the rehabilitation centers, to Nature Canada, to Environment and Climate Change Canada, to everyone, to you guys for watching tonight. And if you are interested, please contact education@pebo.ca or see our Facebook page, Bird Friendly Windsor. And if you have any questions or comments or suggestions of places where we should look for birds, please email us at education@pebo.ca. There.
That's
Come
great.
back.
Thank you very much, Jen. That's fantastic. Yeah, I'm looking forward to participating in this important event and research. So we'll just open it up now. If anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. You're welcome to turn your camera on if you want, or just add your questions to the chat and we'll have Jen answer them. Any questions? That was very, very informative. So might be everything might be covered already.
Yeah.
Well, once again, if we want to participate, you said, if I recall correctly, we need to send an email into you.
Yeah, if you send an email, let me know how you'd like to participate. If you'd like to come out on the outing on Monday, September 27th, you can do that. We're going to have a socially distanced outdoor group that is going to go to one or multiple locations, whatever we kind of decide on, depending on our people's availability. And we're going to look for bird collisions and, bring them to the rehabilitator or record them. Also, if you just want to participate from home, if you'll be on vacation, if you'll be home, if you'll be at work that day, just even let us know. There's nothing that we have to do for you. We just love to know kind of where you're monitoring from so we can look for your records and know that you are on the team.
So what is the email address again?
Education@pebo.ca, PIBO.ca.
Could you share with us any locations that you're familiar with where you have been seeing birds that have collided in the area?
I don't have any that have had high numbers. I have just had lots of experience with birds colliding with windows. Like I said, people will send me a message, Jen, this bird hit my window. So it's at people's homes. I've worked at various City of Windsor buildings. I've worked, in a drugstore, a retail store, and I've had hummingbirds hit the window. I've had songbirds hit the window. So I don't really have any hot spots in mind yet. I've been talking to people about some places that are kind of places of business, not sure if they would want us to go there. We're just kind of in the making a list of options stage right now. I mean, I was thinking downtown, we can just walk and look everywhere. The casino, but obviously that will involve some outreach and some willingness on their part to have us come in with a bright orange vest and some nets and know and approve of what we're doing. So like I said, I know if anyone has any suggestions of areas, we'd be happy to hear about them, because we're just we're making those decisions now.
Sorry, I was on mute there.
Oh yeah.
Are there any other questions out there? Feel free to unmute yourself.
Oh, I see one in the chat, Children's Aid Society. I assume she's suggesting that it is a potential place to look. All right. So yeah, I mean, emails and outreach are going to go out. A brainstorming session will happen. And it depends, like I said, on where people are from. If people are from downtown, if they're from East Windsor or Walkerville, we'll try to think of a place where we can meet, where we think it might be worth our while, worth our time, since we're only going out one day. I mean, it's COVID. We're, hesitant about any outing. So we're going to make it count. And hopefully we don't find any birds, but hopefully we do, because if they are colliding with windows, we want them to be recorded.
Makes sense. Okay. All right. Any final questions for tonight? Okay. Not seeing anything. So
Yeah.
thank you very much, Jen. Really appreciate your time. It's a very worthwhile project. And like I said, I'm looking forward to being part of it, and I hope everybody else does as well.
All right.
So
Thanks,
thank
Corey.
you everyone
Thanks,
for
everyone.
joining tonight. Have a good night.
Yes. Good night.
Bye.
Take care.
You too.